hardship.
If you are collapsing banks, it's going to affect traders, it's going to affect farmers. Because of hardship, people don't have money to buy and eat yam.
The Information Ministry has been responding to the claims. It says the former president is out of touch with the ordinary Ghanaian.
He should still have to break away from his comfort zone and get on the ground. If he actually is on the ground, if he's relating to people truly, and getting feedback, I'm surprised that he would be saying the things that he's saying.
This is Top Story with Evans Mensah.
And Top Story is always brought to you by Bond. It's also brought to you by Gasem Cement, the nation builder. Vodafone, the future is exciting, ready and nationwide. Now, the former President John Dramani Mahama continues to tear into the 22-month record of the Akufo-Addo administration, claiming the lives of ordinary Ghanaians are worse off today. He says there is hardship in the country today, and the MPP has not been able to deliver on their promises. Mr. Mahama has been on a tour of the northern region, campaigning to be elected flag bearer of the NDC. He says he's yet to see the materialization of the MPP's promises.
In 2016, we told Ghanaians that the economy was tight, but we're doing our best to make life better for Ghanaians, and that we've laid the foundation, and that if Ghanaians give us another term, we will raise the building on top of the foundation, and that life will be better in the next 4 years. What did our opponents do? They said we are incompetent, we don't know how to govern, and that if they come into office, they can govern better than us. And that what are they going to do? They're going to give every district a factory. They're going to give every village a dam. They're going to give every constituency $1 million every year. They are going to give nursing trainee allowances. They are going to build warehouses in every district so that you can store your produce. I started the Northern Region tour this week, and I've been going around a few days already. And I haven't seen a single factory in any district yet. And the question we ask ourselves, where are the factories? Where are the dams? Where is the $1 million per constituency?
I'm just been joined on the telephone line right now by Deputy Information Minister Pius Hajide. He's been responding to the former president. Joins us on the telephone line right now. Pius, thank you for your time here on Top Story. Hello, Mr. Hajide.
Hello.
Thank you for your time here on Top Story.
Yes, thank you very much for having me, my brother.
Well, the former president says he's not seen any of your promises materialize. One district, one factory, one village, one dam. And he's saying that you simply promised heaven, you haven't delivered at all.
Well, I would be surprised and disappointed if His Excellency the President, former President John Dramani Mahama, still wants to continue along this same path of deliberate misinformation and propaganda and not wanting to be real with the people of Ghana. First of all, Evans, let us begin from the beginning and let former President John Mahama and our friends in the NDC understand that to begin with, it will take a little more than over a year to fix the kind of mess that was inherited. And in his own words, the economy was down to the bones, and that the meat was all gone, and it was down to the bone. In fact, we came to meet it even at the marrow. It was beyond the bone. We came to meet it at the marrow. But I think that His Excellency, the former president, may have to look a little closely. He must exit his comfort zone and deal directly with the people of Ghana. He will see. For instance, he is in the north. He's reported to be making these comments from the north. And with respect to the one village, one dam, His Excellency President John Dramani Mahama should note that out of the 570 dams that we are expected or we expect to construct in the 3 northern regions, 116 are at various stages of completion. And he should spend some time and visit such communities like Balgagbeni in Yendi and Jolinyeri in the Dafiama, Busa districts and constituencies and so on, to acquaint and abreast himself with the development that is happening on the ground. It is quite easy to speak such partisan political language from the comfort of one's air-conditioned V8 vehicle. But if you get on the grounds, you will notice that a lot is happening.
So specifically, how many of these dams have you completed?
116 are at different stages of construction. And
okay, so you haven't completed. Have you completed any?
Well, there are some. I do not want to say that we have completed. The 2 places that I mentioned to you, I can report to you that water from these dams are already being used for irrigation by the locals around there. But I also can confess to you that because of heavy rains, some of these projects have stalled. These constructions you cannot do within some certain times of the year. And because of heavy rains that we are just about exiting from, some of these projects have been stalled. But these dams have been started in 106 different locations across the 3 northern regions, and we expect to finish a total of 570. Again, even in the area of one district, one factory, if Mr. Mahama took his time to exit his comfort zone and deal directly with the people of Ghana, he will find that a little under 2 years, even with all the economic mess that we inherited, 18 of these factories have taken off the ground. Just recently, His Excellency the President was in Elmina in the central region to commission a citrus a factory. From there, he went ahead to inspect work on large acres of sweet potato plantation. These are initiatives that we are taking under 2 years, something that the NDC, with His Excellency President, former President John Dramani Mahama at the helm of affairs for 8 years, was unable to do. And he must give credit where it is due.
Well, you said that, but he also talks in some detail about what he believes to be a worsening living condition of the Ghanaian. Listen to him.
To paraphrase, you can do all the propaganda you like to win political power. When you come into government, the reality of the people's lives will expose you. And let's just look at it in terms of the yam economy. Because I know the majority of those here are yam farmers. The yam market has collapsed. When we're coming along the road, there was a boy chasing us with yams under his arms. And he was holding a big tuber. And he was running by the car and saying, 1 cedi. And so I turned to chairman and I said, this big tuber of yam is 1 cedi. And chairman said, yes, the yam market has collapsed. And so I started to do the research. I said, why? What is happening? It turns out that, one, because of hardship, people don't have money to buy and eat yam. So the demand for yam has gone down. Everything is linked to each other. And it takes somebody who understands the market and the reality of governing to know that if you are collapsing banks, it's going to affect traders, it's going to affect farmers. And that is what economics lecturers who are just theorists can come and stand and lecture, but they don't understand that the practicals of running government is completely different. And so NDC has done it before. At any time that NDC has been in government, this country has made progress. We've extended electricity to so many communities. We have provided water to many communities all over the northern sector. We've built schools all over, community-day secondary schools, so that all our children can have access to secondary education. We've built hospitals, we've built CHIPS compounds, and we were described as incompetent. Today, what are we seeing? I saw somebody with a placard. We're seeing super.
I still have Pius Hajide with me on the line. He's a Deputy Information Minister. Mr. Hajide, just heard the former president talk about what he perceives to be the general hardship in the economy, using the yam economy to illustrate his point. Recently, the president himself, Nana Dankwa Akufo-Addo, made the point that, yes, he acknowledges that there's some difficulty, but he's confident that he will turn it around. Clearly, then, that is an admission that some things aren't going right in this economy and people really are facing difficulty. Well, we lost him there. We'll try and get him back and put a few more of the questions to him, including John Mahama's claim today that the NPP is currently nervous because he's on his way back.
Often you hear them say, oh, but NDC, don't you have people? And then you say, why? He says, oh, but the former president, why are you bringing him back? He says, if you bring him, we'll win, we'll defeat you. I say, but is that not what you want? Don't you want to defeat us? He says, if you bring him, we'll defeat you. And he says, but already that is what you want. It's like two teams playing football. And you tell me that, oh, if I put this goalkeeper, you score me. But of course, you want to score me. So the only reason why you are saying I shouldn't put the goalkeeper is that you are afraid of that goalkeeper.
Mr. Ajide, can you hear me, sir? Hello, Pius Ajide.
Hello, Evans Mensah.
Yes. Thank you. We lost you briefly. Just what we had there. He says you are afraid of the goalkeeper being himself. You're afraid that he's coming back. True?
We are afraid of which goalkeeper?
John Mahama.
He's the goalkeeper?
Yes, he says.
I thought he lost the match and the game, and the coach is in the process of replacing him, and that is why we have over 13 people from the NDC who have openly expressed their dissatisfaction with his leadership style. You will notice that after one term in office, normally most political parties would retain their candidates in the previous elections unopposed. His Excellency J. Kufuor was not contested when he sought his second term. Even former President J.E.A. Mills was contested just by one other person. But in the case of former President John Dramani Mahama, he is contested by almost every Tom, Dick, and Harry in the NDC, including Mr. Atubiga. And so I am not too sure if he still sees himself as the goalkeeper. His teammates are not impressed at all with his performance. And I think that at this moment he should concentrate his efforts on convincing the NDC. Even on his tour, the man appears quite unclear about how come he lost the election. In one breath he says that it was God who made him to lose the election. In another breath, he says the NPP rigged the election when they were in government. I don't know if that is supposed to be a tacit admission of failure and an incapacity to manage the affairs of state properly. Again, in another breath, he accuses his party leadership of diverting party funds and pilfering party resources and so on and so forth. And so you cannot be too sure what the former president is talking about and so on and so forth. So we do not have any worry at all. I mean, it is their internal process. We hope that he keeps it at that internal contest to want to even exceed and break the laws and even enter into secondary schools, minors, and engage in partisan politicking, even at the second cycle institution, which is clearly an aberration of the rules of engagement, is disappointing for a former first gentleman of the land, somebody who still seeks to lead this country. And I am particularly scandalized at that behavior. But I believe that Mr. Mahama should at least sail through first, become flag bearer.
So
then we shall engage.
So it's true. So it's true. You prefer that John Mahama wins the NDC primaries?
Well, personally, and on this matter, I speak for myself. I think that former President John Mahama is a weak candidate to beat. His record in government is abysmal, and so I think there should not be any difficulty at all with beating former President John Mahama again. That's my personal view. I think that the fear of the unknown rather is what I would rather that would have been my fear, the unknown. But as for President John Mahama, his record is here. We know
so you say, as far as you're concerned, John Mahama is a known quantity.
Say that again?
As far as you're concerned, John Mahama is a known quantity.
I think so, yes.
But he points to hardship in the economy currently, something that could play to his advantage. We had the president speaking a couple of weeks ago talk about, yes, there's some hardship and that he's working to turn it around. That can play in his favor.
No, it cannot play in his favor. It will be wishful thinking on the part of former President John Mahama if he thinks like that. The people of Ghana admire their president for one thing, that he is governing this country with truthfulness. He's been very candid with the people. Yes, we have some shocks. We are not where we wish to be right now, but without a doubt, the people admit that where we are today is far better than where we were under the NDC, where we would have been under a John Mahama leadership. The people know that it is this government of Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo who has reduced utility tariffs. And I cite myself as an example. I used to pay for my electricity 100 cedis every month. Under this leadership, I now take 80 cedis and some coins because His Excellency has reduced electricity tariffs by 17.5%. Even if you took petroleum prices, it is true there has been some increases in petroleum prices, but the tax component in the price build-up when we came was 40%. Evans, we have reduced the tax component in the price build-up from 40% to some 26%. But for the astronomical increase in the prices of Brent on the international market, when we came on the international market, crude was selling at $40 per barrel. Today it is selling at $81 per barrel, more than double. So, but for these external shocks that we do not have any direct control over, the prices of petrol would have, and diesel for that matter, would have come down because the tax component has seen some drastic reduction from 40% to 46%.
Yeah, but I mean, just to be clear, you're not dismissing that there's hardship, are you?
No, I am not. I'm not. As for hardship, my brother Evans, I think the concept is well understood. We will, as human beings, continue to seek improvements in our well-being, in our welfare, and so on and so forth. And we also do conceive that there are some temporary shocks as far as the CD is concerned, and again, the price of crude on the international market is concerned. But I am saying to you on authority that if you did a comparison between what situation we are in today and what situation we were in before, or what situation we would have been in, I think that the people of Ghana admit that this is a performing government, and we are doing all that we can do to mitigate whatever shocks that we may be facing at this point. Mind you, Evans, today, if your ward is going to secondary school, if he or she were a boarding student, you would have had to find some 2,200. A day student, you would have had to find some 1,100. Now, because of this government, you are not called upon to find that kind of money. You have that resource now to be able to do other things. Nursing training allowances have been restored. and so on and so forth. And so I can go on and on and on and on. The village, the development projects that we are doing, that Mr. Mahama decides to bury his head in the sand and not see, were not there before.
Talking about development projects, he talked today in the northern region when he was campaigning that your government, you've abandoned some of the key developmental projects that he started. He mentioned a few. Listen.
All the roads I remember we were working on have come to a standstill. All the E-blocks, community day schools we were working on have come to a standstill. All the electricity projects we were extending power to communities have come to a standstill. All the water projects we were providing water to communities have come to a standstill.
Mr. Hajide, is that true? That you have abandoned all these projects that, in essence, will improve the lives of the people in these rural areas? I think we lost Mr. Hajide there, but let's stay with the campaigning that is currently happening in the three regions of the north as far as the former president is concerned. There's a statement that has just come in from the governing National Democratic governing New Patriotic Party, and it has to do with, and it comes with a caption, John Mahama and Joshua Kamba's conduct in Tampani SHS reckless and shameful. GS must crack the whip. And the statement says the National Youth Wing of the NPP has noted with great concern some videos circulating on social media which show former President John Mahama and Deputy National Organizer of the NDC, Mr. Joshua Kamba, inciting students in various senior high schools against government's free SHS policy, and yet another clear indication of the NDC's vicious intentions for the free SHS program. Former President John Mahama and Joshua Kamba are seen in these viral videos making highly partisan political statements which seek to ridicule the free SHS program and call disaffection for government. And they want the GES to crack the whip on this. Now, I want you to listen to what they're referring to.
Deputy Attorney General's constituency. He is a member of parliament. Is that right? Then look at the way you bring pieces. Is this fair? No, sir. This one, is this fair? No, sir. You are sleeping in the rain? Yes. You can look at the way they pack you. Yes. It's full of sickness. Yes. And you are being eaten by animals. Come and see. See, very bad. See. You have better rooms in your house. You are suffering. You are suffering. Are you really suffering? Wait. Two people. We are selling one of them for two people. So now, if you have the opportunity, will you vote for NPP again? No! Listen to me.
That's the Mr. Kamba that's speaking to some senior high school students in the northern region. And this is what has triggered the statement from the New Patriotic Party condemning the comments we just had there campaigning in the senior high school. We've arranged to speak to spokesperson for the John Mahama campaign, James Ajay Boateng. We're not getting through to him, but we're speaking shortly to the national organizer of the NPP, Mr. Nana Boakye, who signed that statement criticizing that and calling on the GES to step in and act. All this is happening because the NDC is heading to the primary to elect a presidential candidate, or to elect a flag bearer who eventually, if the EC goes through the processes, might become the presidential candidate of the party. We've seen, and many have seen, the campaigning that has happened over the last few weeks since the campaigning within the party, NDC, hit full tilt, which is is producing these controversial results. So we've had the NDC obviously raising concerns with a lot of the developmental projects that they say simply does not exist. Let's speak to Nana Boakye, who's joined on the telephone line right now. Thank you, sir, for your time here on Top Story.
Hello,
Mr. Boakye. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
What's your concern with that clip we just played, the Mr. Kamba campaign in the free SHS?
Oh, thank you very much. I mean, first of all, it's repulsive, it's very irresponsible, and it's a reckless way of going about campaign. I mean, NDC, they are engaged in their own internal party politics. That is okay, that is fine. We have finished ours. So if Mr. Kamba, if you are embarking on your own campaign, I mean, what is your business going into a secondary school and in a very lawless manner assemble some few students and trying to incite them against the government policy?
Well, what is lawless about? What is lawless about that?
No. I mean, when you go into the GES regulations, it is unlawful for anybody to go and conduct active partisan politics activities on pre-tertiary education facilities. It is unlawful. And I think you should know better. So if you want to engage your delegates, people who vote for you, are these delegates, these young children, they are not even of voting age. And in a very irresponsible manner, trying to incite these children against the government policy they are beneficiaries of. And I think this must be condemned. That is the more reason why we came out with this press statement. And indeed, we also urgently called on the Ghana Education Service to also question the authorities. And I've gotten some information that the headmaster or the headmistress there is suspended pending some investigation, because this is seriously untoward and we cannot allow this thing to go on. And for me, it is a clear violation of the GES regulation.
Yeah, but you make the point. There are teachers on that on the student campus. We have the headmaster or headmistress, a head teacher in the school. They allow this to happen. And from the video that I saw, the kids were standing outside their classrooms and they were having an interaction with this politician. So you have to hold the school authorities accountable. They allow this to happen. Well, we lost him on the line, but we'll try and... This is obviously one of the controversies that had come up as the campaigning reaches fever pitch. We are more than 2 years to the general elections, and already you can sense the political temperature and the controversies seem to be raining and pouring every single day. We'll delve into that a bit more and speak to the GES about this particular incident that the NPP is complaining about, with suggestions that the headmaster has been suspended. Well, that's it for Top Story. My name is Evans Mensah.
Born for Yangophobia Mudinokre.
I came to Bond because I wanted to expand my business.
Bond's intervention in our company has provided us with capital to grow our stock and also to expand our machinery.